This is the effects of parental involvement on student learning. I'm Zachary King, University of West Alabama. This is SE504 and Dr. Frederick Abernathy. This research explores the importance of fostering strong homeschool partnerships at Scottsboro High School by actively engaging parents through open communication, involving them in decision-making processes, and providing opportunities for collaboration. The school aims to enhance academic success. Additionally, it highlights the significance of parent education and support, such as workshops, seminars, and resources to equip parents with the knowledge and skills needed to support their child's learning at home. Chronic absenteeism and poverty will be assessed for these students and tied to parental involvement. Collaboration with the administration and support staff of Scottsboro High School will allow access to data and intel for this research. Really like this quote from the Annie E. Casey Foundation, so I thought I would open up this presentation with this quote. The extent to which schools nurture positive relationships with families and vice versa makes all the difference, research shows. Students whose parents stay involved in school have better attendance and behavior, get better grades, demonstrate better social skills, and adapt better to school. So opening up with this research, we had to ask ourselves, what is the problem? The problem is academic achievement. And how is that affected by parental involvement? Lack thereof, does it affect? Or more parent involvement, greater parent involvement? Does that help test scores? Does that help the kids learn easier and more effectively? So how do we put this research into play? What's our action plan? So first is sampling. So what are we going to be looking at? I chose these three key areas to look at for looking for this type of thing. So we looked at poverty rates, and we looked at those at the high school level mainly because that is where I did my research at, but also took a glance at the percentages of the overall school system poverty rates as well. And then we also looked at chronic absences and also test scores. So that's pre-ACT and ACT scores. So what's some instruments we use to carry this out? Like I said, ACT test results were looked at, pre-ACT test results, we looked at attendance, and then the poverty rates provided by the school system. How do we collaborate with this research? The administrative staff provided me with these results. Test scores of students with frequent absences were measured versus those with good attendance. Scores from students with high poverty rates were observed against those students with family incomes above the poverty line. Test scores were also compared to last year's scores. Chronic absenteeism was reviewed to see the number of students beneath the poverty line to see if there is a correlation. All right, so what's our procedure? How do we go about this? So first we determine the actual sample size by selecting a representative sample of students from the high school, ensuring diversity in terms of demographic factors like socioeconomic status and academic performance. Collect data on parental involvement by using surveys, interviews to gather information about the level of parental involvement. Parent-teacher conferences, helping homework, participating in school events. We gathered pre-ACT and ACT scores of the students in the sample. This data will provide insights to their academic performance. So I was able to meet with our, at that time, assistant principal. She is no longer the assistant principal, but the assistant principal with those scores, and she was able to kind of talk me through, and we looked at the overall scores, weighing them against each other, poverty levels, absentee, kids were absent a lot. Did that affect their scores on the test? And we kind of looked at that. And then the last one, measuring chronic absenteeism, will track the attendance records of the students to identify instances of chronic absenteeism, which can indicate the level of engagement and involvement from parents. So how do we protect the kids' confidentiality? How do we not expose those on the test scores and the attendance records? I did glance and put my eyes on their names and was able to see who they were, but none of that information was shared in the paper or anything like that. More, we added in the percentages of the overall. We added them up and got the averages and put those in there with no names, protecting the kids from any type of exposure. So what was our population? The population was grades 9 through 12, so the high school at Scottsboro, and this was a pool of about 750 students. Obviously, you have to take into consideration kids that are absent when the test is taken. So some of those kids may have been left out, or we could have had more students on the ACT or less on the pre-ACT, vice versa. So here's some results. This particular chart shows statistics just from the high school. And you'll see I've pointed out homeless. We had 5 out of that total. That's under 1%. That's not a high amount, but that still takes a factor. We look at that. And also the poverty rate, which was at 50%. And I was able to speak with our administrators about this, and also even some of the people at the central office, and this number has grown, which in return we have seen a slight decline in our parental involvement within the schools. This next slide, this was actually shared with us very recently. This chart shows numbers from our entire school system. So the whole Scottsboro City school system. This is, pre-K to seniors, all of that data. And if you'll look at homelessness, we're at 58 students. That's a little over 2%. And as you can see, from 2021-22, we had 21. That grew to 62. So that grew a rapid amount from that year to the next. And then if you look down, or at the top at low income, also, at this past year was at 60% low income. So that's also rising from year to year as you'll look at those numbers. Then when we was reflecting back, had some changes that we could make: increase focus on telecommunication, expand parent education programs, utilize technology for engagement, and develop support networks. And then also reflecting some additional research that we could have done, impact of socioeconomic factors, effectiveness of digital tools, longitudinal studies, and finally, teacher training. Here are my references from my research. I appreciate you allowing me to present my research and findings.